Bill King joining us here from Nashville Sports Radio, king of college football talk, who can be the prince of college baseball talk sometimes, because we do talk about that with him too. Bill, how you doing? Just a couple days before the College World Series begins.
Hey, boys. Nice and 120 here, or whatever it is, in the 615.
It's great grilling weather, is it? Do you grill in the heat because you're the grill master too, or do you take it indoors?
I grill right on the concrete, man. No reason to waste pellets, you know?
That's great. That's called energy saving, man. That's just turning the sun's energy into your own. That's like solar panels on your house. That's perfect. SEC West makes up half of the College World Series field, and we all had already put Tennessee in the field. Man, I mean, I felt it's a bigger upset than Arkansas losing to NC State last year. So Tennessee had more wins. They, kind of blew teams out, not just like winning by 2 or 3 or 4 runs. Is there another, even in a college football, is there something that kind of touches as far as the biggest upset in the sport that you feel you can kind of compare to what happened to Tennessee?
If you're wanting to compare, didn't get in, let's say, the playoffs, the Final Four for football, I don't know of an equivalent. Because you get one loss. I mean, Alabama gets one loss, right? Georgia gets one loss. Ohio State gets one loss. So you don't get knocked off or knocked out late if you've had an outstanding year with one loss. At least those teams don't. I'm not sure I have a good comparison. And I really thought with the momentum that Tennessee would probably blow them out in that third game. And when it was 3-1 and they weren't having any big innings, I started wondering a little bit, and then they put that freshman lefty in who's really good. He's an All-American, and they had nothing for him. I knew the Vols were in trouble.
So, the weird sort of analysis gets thrown around, Tennessee didn't take Notre Dame seriously, they thought they were already in Omaha. I never buy all that kind of stuff because you're playing a team in the Super Regional, they're really good, and you're going to take them seriously.
Right.
Was it a matter, This is we use the term, Bill, chalky so often in basketball and in football. Baseball is just the least chalkiest of the sports. What can you chalk up the fact that the number 1 seed hasn't won the tournament since 1999? I put it to the idea that it's just, college baseball is the drunkest sport out there, the most difficult to predict, and that's the only way I can explain it.
I think there's another stat. 5 of the last 9 1 seeds didn't even get to Omaha.
I think you're right.
5 of the last 1 seeds. 5 of the last 9 1 seeds that did not get to Omaha. On top of that, something crazy like that. Yeah, you would never. Those that don't understand college football say one reason to expand is because look at what you're seeing in baseball. Not a chance. That is not what's going to happen when they expand in football. But you could make a legitimate case, top to bottom, that each of these teams have a chance. Now, I don't think Notre Dame is going to be the last team standing, but you can make more of a case that a bunch of these 8 teams has a chance to be the last team standing, and you can never do that in college football.
Here's one thing to remember, though. Now that you mention it, I just remembered this. Michigan in 2019, they beat the number 1 overall seed
UCLA, right?
In Los Angeles against UCLA. They were the second last team standing. We don't know what would have happened with NC State last year. They knock off top seed Arkansas. They were forced out of the tournament because of the whole situation with COVID, but they were playing well enough that it looked like they were going to play for the national championship. So it's like a team that comes in hot there, they might get there.
I'll give you a crazy one. I believe it was 2007. Vanderbilt, I think, was the top seed. Regional get walked off against Michigan, and they walk off on David Price. Ended their season. And it was some kid that had camped at Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt didn't even know who they were. That was a crazy one. They didn't even get to the Supers that year.
Yeah, that is crazy, Bill. That's just one of the many examples of how crazy college baseball is. It's the hardest championship, in my opinion. I think in most people's opinion to win. Do want to go back to Tennessee baseball real quick because this is the second time since I've been on this show, Bill, and you joined us for every week since I've been on the show in the set last year that Tennessee fans have thrown trash onto the field. Is it starting to become something that why is this becoming a thing? If it happens once, you're like, okay, bad apples, getting caught up in the moment. It started happening multiple times. We might need to figure something out to keep this from happening.
Well, the pitching coach, how many times has he been booed?
That's true.
You know, I mean, he would be, if they'd have won that game, he'd have missed 2 more games in Omaha. It's Frank Anderson in his name. He's a really good pitching coach, too. But you can't have your pitching coach charging the field during a ball game. Here's the thing about it. Everybody else is disgusted with it, and Tennessee fans don't care what everybody else thinks. So it's 2 clearly polarizing points of view. I'd prefer not to have my name on that. But Tennessee fans actually, I really think they enjoy the heat that comes with the notoriety of chucking during the Ole Miss game or the Notre Dame game, what have you. I don't think they care.
Well, what about, actual people in leadership? I mean, how does chancellors, how does the AD, people that do legitimately represent the University of Tennessee, are they having any concerns about lack of control Tony Vitello seems to have over the program, because they do outlandish things. They argue the second pitch of counts and get thrown out of games. I mean, is there any concerns from higher ups, or are they just on board because the fans are on board?
Depends on if it's a PR public comment or behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, I don't think they do. If you're going to get them to comment publicly, they probably say all the right things. We carefully monitor our coaches. We talk to them about sportsmanship. We encourage sportsmanship. And Tony knows that he shouldn't be. They'd say all the right things. But I don't think it's a concern behind the scenes.
And now, speaking of leadership and people that think that they need to do something, Ross Bjork and A&M wanted to get Nick Saban suspended and actually asked Greg Sankey and the SEC, did they really think that was going to be a possibility? And another thing is, I can't wait for Texas to come into this league just to watch Ross Bjork and A&M tattletale about every single thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a baby moment there. I don't know of a good analogy. You'd be better off going to I grew up Catholic, so I can say this, going to the Catholic Church and say you need to do away with the Pope. All right? and you get the same response as calling the SEC office or writing the SEC office, memoing them, and saying you need to suspend or do something with Nick. Nick is the league, the face of the league. Any sport is Nick Saban. Nick Saban is the commissioner of the league. You're not going to get anything done with the best ever that's done it. I don't even know why, and it's more embarrassing to have that out there with your name on.
I think you're right. I mean, it makes them look
like tattletales, like whiny babies.
Yeah, it's like they're running to mom and dad to get the brother in trouble or something, and he really didn't even do anything to get in trouble here when it comes right down to it. Let's get off that for a moment, but stay with another Texas school and some of the goofy stuff. Did you see about this national anthem singer at the Women's College World Series did horns down in front of an OSU Texas crowd? Now he's been disinvited from singing at the College World Series because of horns down. Like the NCAA actually was like, yeah, you did something. They called it an offensive gesture. Meanwhile, Jordan Beck is rounding first base with a real offensive gesture, and he wasn't thrown out of the game at that point. I can't put 2 and 2 together here, Bill.
No. I didn't. The only reason I know about it is somebody tweeted me about it. I didn't know when it happened or when the announcement came out. But, no, that's just typical NCAA hypocrisy. And horns down, that's not offensive. I mean, if that's going to wait till they get in the league, you don't think these fan bases are going to use that every time Texas is on the road based on Texas thinking this is some kind of offensive gesture? A horns down, it'll be amplified times infinity.
Bill, don't you feel? I mean, it's like anybody that signs up to be a part of the Longhorn athletic department has to expect that this is going to be a thing. They just have to.
Correct.
If they're going to do the horns up, we've got fans that were texting in saying, well, they think horns up is an offensive gesture. So it's all the matter of what, what perspective you're coming from here. Like, you can't be that precious. You can't clutch your pearls when you don't have a pearl necklace. It's like, I don't know if Texas is fighting this fight or if it's like the league officials or whatever. Once they join the SEC, like, the league isn't going to protect their precious little feelings, are they?
No. They're going to lose. The Longhorn Network will dissipate the year that they join, and their feelings will not be protected or respected.
Mm. Yeah, that's one thing that a lot of people have talked about with Texas joining the league is, the Big 12 rule that did say that that's actually a penalty. I mean, is there any chance that, Greg Sankey does even consider, bringing up the horns down as somewhat of a taunting penalty like they've done in the Big 12?
I would hope not. Greg worries me some. I'm not as big a fan of his as I was Mike Slive and Roy Kramer. Those are the greatest commissioners in the history of the planet Earth. I don't think he's in their category, but he does run the SEC, which is the most powerful league. But I worry about him a little bit. Could he go woke on that a little bit? Perhaps. I would caution against it, but you never know with that guy.
Here's an interesting little thing we can finish on here, and I see this from Chris Lowe, ESPN writer, who talked with Sam Pittman today. The article's at ESPN.com on the college football page. This is a quote from Coach Pittman. Personally, I love the rivalry games and would hate, once Texas gets into the league, not to play them every year for the fans and everybody else. He says, I'm not calling out Texas. They have a great program. I have high respect for them. I'm just saying for the fans, obviously for the team. We've got a lot of Texas kids in our team. Sam Pittman wants to have a home and home every year with the Texas Longhorns. Arkansas fans, I think, would want it too. This seems to be something, it's not set in stone. We don't know the year Texas is going to join in, but once they do, it does feel like Arkansas-Texas will be an annual game again.
Well, not if it's a 1-7 format, it won't be. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, you're going to need a 3-6 to have that happen. And I think that probably would be secure. But they can't make a move until they know the playoff expansion is going through. There's no reason to add a game and add an additional potential loss, if you're not going past 4 playoff teams.
And the whole
so that's what's on hold there.
And the whole schedule thing right now is in a holding pattern because the whole college football playoff expansion is a holding pattern. We don't know when that holding pattern is going to – we may be in a holding pattern for like 5 years.
The rest of the leagues are trying to choke them off here and just play hardball because that's basically all they've got to play with. And that's why Greg Sankey threw out the mysterious intra-league national tournament someday. I don't think he's serious about it, but why not float it in this environment we're in where nothing's getting done and we can't get agreement on the expansion even though you do agree with it? That's why you're hearing some of this crazy stuff.
Yeah, well, and holding patterns right now are crazy stuff because I think we'd like to know how the way that this sport is gonna figure itself out. Bill, we'll end it with that. Appreciate you, man.
Okay.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.